Hey, good morning. It's Charles Folkart on March 2nd, 2017. And I'm going to try in this video to show you why things never get better and they always get worse and we always have to pay more money. And I'm going to use the legal system. I'm going to use my own experiences in the legal system to try to explain this part to you. And what it comes right down to, folks, is that it's our own fault because we don't do anything about what's happening. There's things that we could do that we just don't do. And we just really don't care. We would rather complain and moan and bitch and say, oh, what can I do about it? And so the powers that be, the people that take advantage of us, the people in control, the people who take our money, they know that we're not going to do anything, so they do what they want to us and nothing ever changes and they just keep moving on. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to go back to when I used to write my opinion in the local newspapers back in Humboldt County, California. Constitutional questions. This one's about the insurance plan is socialistic. I took on the Assemblyman Hauser. This bill went down in defeat. I talked about Christianity is crucial. Well, Christianity's been removed from the schools. We ended up homeschooling to take care of that problem. And this is the healthcare issues. I was removed from a column in this local paper back in the 80s because the advertisers threatened to pull out their advertising money from this local paper if I continued to express my opinion. So my opinion was censored. People didn't get to hear what I had to say. And then I believe now, I look back at this now, when I went through a divorce, they got me into their system and they said, Charles, you're well known in the community, you're outspoken on issues we don't agree with, we're liberal, you're conservative, so now we got you. And they went through and they took everything that I had worked for, and I documented that all in my book, Deadbeat Dad. Nobody came to my rescue. The federal bankruptcy court took everything away. They had no legal right to do what they did. And my attorney didn't stick up for me because he has to go back to that same judge, and his son was taking over his law firm, his bankruptcy firm. So he doesn't want to rock the boat. I'm only one client. He's got to go before this same judge for years and years ahead, and the judge is still on the bench as far as I know. He says, I have never in the 12 years I've been on the bench given a man back his business over the objection of his ex-wife. So he can come right out in public and say that, and he knows nothing's going to happen, no repercussions for what he's done. And guess what? He's still on the bench. And as far as I know, how many men has he financially screwed in the last 18 years? He was there for 30 years. He's doing what he's having his way with men the whole time. And what happens to him? Nothing. Nothing happens to him. Fast forward to the 2000s, I'm involved in a lawsuit. I'm falsely accused here in Montana. I defend myself. We go 3.5 years through a lawsuit. They don't have, the other party doesn't have a case, but I don't have an attorney. They're in the club. The courts rule in the opponent's favor. I'm opposite of the plaintiff pays probably $50,000 to get a judgment against me. The judgment stands because we go to appeals court. The 5 corrupt Montana Supreme Court justices know they can have their way with me. They know nothing's going to happen, so they rule against me. The club wins. The attorney gets his $50,000. She gets her judgment, and things move on. But here's what I want to show you now. Here's where we are, because nobody wants to listen. Before we go to the next page, I want to show you this. I put this video up in August the 4th, 2016, last summer. I went down to Missoula after my lawsuit was appealed, and I lost. I lost not on the merits of the case, but on a red herring for a mediation that didn't take place, and they blamed it on me. And instead of rescheduling the mediation, which they would have done had I been an attorney, no, they blamed no mediation on me. So they won on a red herring. I appealed, and I filed and then when I lost, I filed what's called a reconsideration, a request for a reconsideration. Let me get the exact wording on that. Yeah, it's called a motion for reconsideration. I sent that in. They ignored it. But the important thing about that is you can look at almost every other document on the Montana Supreme Court public record there online, except for the motion for reconsideration, because that's when a person who loses an appeal gets to point out where the Supreme Court made errors and asking them to reconsider their opinion, their judgment. But that's not online, so nobody gets to read that. That's how they hide what they do from the public. And 99% of the people out there have no clue that that thing even exists. And a lot of attorneys, see, I'm not an attorney, so I don't have a problem. I'll file that because I'm probably never going to go before the Montana Supreme Court again. But an attorney won't want to file that because that'll prejudice the court against him the next time. People are only human, so they think about it. And you're only one client, and they're not going to piss off the Supreme Court. So, you know, hey, they get your money, you lose a case, no big deal, they move on. And that's the problem with a lot of what's going on in this country, especially in the legal system. That's the only... If I build a house and you couldn't live in it, you wouldn't pay me. But if you take on an attorney and he loses a case, you still got to pay him. Think about that for a moment, okay? That's a big scam, folks. And I could tell you, I've been involved in lawsuits, both as a real estate developer and a contractor, and in divorce, and in bankruptcy, and in being charged, falsely accused, and being civilly charged. And I have a lot of insight as to how the legal system actually works. And I'm bringing this up because I went down to the Montana Access to Justice Forum in Missoula back early summer 2016, and I document what I said at that meeting. And there were state legislators there from Montana because the court system now in Montana is looking for more money. Imagine that. They're overburdened. They're overladen. The courts are just full of cases, and they give the sob story. Neglected children, they always bring the children in, but they never have a solution to stop the children from getting into the court system in the first place. They encourage women to divorce their husbands and move on to the next one and force the husband to pay child support as he moves out and loses his house and sometimes his job. And in my case, I lost everything I worked for over a 20-year period, and I lost my source of income, and I had to leave the country and go teach English in another country. So they never talk about the solutions to the problem, so you don't even need the court system. What they talk about is, hey, we're overloaded, and drugs and civil cases, and if you get pulled into court as a small businessman, I'm going to show you that here. But before I go, I got 21 views on this. 21 views. I drove all the way down to Missoula, 2-hour drive, on my own dime, drove back. After I did the speech, there were Montana state reps there on the committees to decide whether to give the money or not. And nobody came up to me and said, Charles, I'd like to talk to you, give me some more information. Nothing. Not an interest. But let's go have a look at how they get people to give them more money now. Here we are, Great Falls Tribune. Montana needs more judges. Legislators should pass HB 44. This is an opinion. Then they talk about Montana's right to access to the justice system is in the state constitution. You're damn right it is. I brought that up to the Montana Supreme Court, and they completely ignored it. Let's skip down here. Constitutional rights that cannot be enforced are illusionary. If those rights cease to exist as legal rights, Montanans' fundamental rights to a jury trial, to due process, and to equal protection. Now that's something that I didn't get. I demanded a jury trial, I demanded due process, and I demanded equal protection, but I didn't get either one of those, and I went all the way to the Montana Supreme Court to try to get that. And my last question to the Access Forum in Missoula was, if the Montana Supreme Court is the final stay and I don't get justice here, where else do you go? And the answer to that rhetorical question is there's nowhere else to go. But these people, look at this. If you're a small business, and I was a small business at that time, and I still am in a way, if you're a small business and you have a cloud of a lawsuit hanging over your head, that can be very taxing. No kidding. I went through 3 years. It's something that consumes your life. I had to defend myself because I didn't have the funds. I'm trying to protect the funds of the same person who's suing me, while at the same time I know I don't want to get an attorney because that's a lose-lose situation. You can lose the case and lose the money too. So I don't need an attorney. It's not that difficult to represent yourself, especially when you're not guilty. And I had the right, and I still have the right, to protect and defend myself, but that right was denied by the 5 Supreme Court justices of the Montana Supreme Court. And now they're complaining that their caseload is too much, and so they want $2.5 million as the solution. And guess what? They're going to get it, folks. They're going to add 5 more judges throughout the state. They're asking for 20. They always go more than they actually need, but they're happy with the 5. That's this year. Another few years from now, they'll come back and ask for more. They don't want to provide or propose solutions so that people don't even have to end up in court. I could give them, if the state legislators, state representative would listen to people like me, I could give them solutions. I can tell them why they don't need to increase the funding to the court system, because the courts know how they can reduce their caseload by just throwing out the bad cases, which they should have done with me. So, but instead, the attorney, he got to run his case that should never have been in the courtroom in the first place for 3.5 years, while he sucked money out of the client, and probably in the tune of $40,000-$50,000, and I may be conservative on that figure. All right? So, and you, hey, one more thing before we go. I got to bring you here to the Flathead Beacon, and they're not a beacon. They're a faint light when it comes to truth. But they got an article here. Montana Supreme Court steps in to redistribute heavy caseload in Flathead. And I just want to, I'm not going to go read all that. It's the same crap they always put in. But they changed their comment system here not too long ago, like I've mentioned in other videos. You got to have a Facebook account now to make a comment. So I'm not getting I had a Facebook account and I got rid of it because I'm tired of that CIA operation collecting. And this guy, Kellen Brown, the cuck journalist, see, now I can't even come here and post a link to any of my YouTube videos that expose this whole thing as a big scam. And that's the problem we have. These so-called journalists that get out of these colleges calling themselves journalists aren't. And you think things are bad back in the 90s, and you think things are bad now. You wait till this keeps going for a few more years. And another, when this cuck Kellen Brown's my age, think how bad things are going to be. This thing makes me sick. This whole country makes me sick. State representatives, I sent my, I contacted several people that are supposed to be well known in Montana, and one of them was an oath keeper, the big shot leader here in this part of Montana as an oath keeper. Well, he didn't even return my email. I sent another guy, I'm not going to give you his name, but he lives down Bozeman, and his name rhymes with a bird that we hunt. And I said, hey, they're having another Montana Access to Justice Forum in your town, and I spoke at Missoula. I could come down there and speak, and guess what? I didn't even get a return email telling me to F off, or no, I'm not in, not a word. But this same man will go on national Christian Zionist Judeo-Christian TV and sell his book and come across like he's concerned about what's going on in the country. He don't give a rat's butt. Okay, he only cares about himself, and I'm calling these people out. I'm sick and tired of this crap. I've sent the local radio program. I explained to them. I sent them an email detail, and short, brief detail. Hey, this is what just happened in Montana Supreme Court. Nobody cares. Nobody wants. That's not news, So that's why things get worse. Things get worse. Nothing improves. Nothing gets better, and the cost to society keeps increasing. The crime keeps increasing. Divorce is increasing. The children caught up in the problem, in the whole mechanism here. There's a lot of homeless children here in Montana, I'm told, and children. We're not talking about adults. We're talking about children, and these people, these robed criminals, and their attorneys are raking in big bucks, and they have graduates from law school coming out of there, and they've got to keep these young law students working and give them something to do, because they're hoping that they can buy the Beamer and have the wall paneled, carpeted, and the purple plush chairs in their office. And these judges know that, and so they will allow a case into the courtroom that shouldn't be there because a lot of times the insurance is involved. So you have one attorney that plays the bad guy. He's going to sue this other guy over here. Everybody knows he doesn't have a case except his client, but his client's willing to pay, so they're going to allow that system, that case to be in the system, and they're going to suck money out of this. He's a sucker. He doesn't even realize what's going on. There's no way he's going to win his case. The other party is covered by insurance. See, it's a big scam because a lot of businesses, you have to have insurance. As a building contractor, a real estate developer, I was required to have insurance. So I'm a mark. I had an X on the back of my back, and I was even told, Charles, don't take this personal. We're just going after the insurance. So my insurance company had to pay for the attorney to defend this case that should have never been in court. My attorney, which is actually the insurance's attorney, he ends up making 50, 60. I think one case I had, he got close to $80,000 for the few months that he spent on my case. It's a scam, folks. But you know what? Most people that will watch this video and most people that will be able to do anything about it, they won't do a damn thing. And so that's why things keep getting worse. And it's coming to a point where the whole thing's going to fall apart because Americans live in an illusionary world. Everything is fake. And that's all going to come to an end here real soon. Thank you for watching. Embrace the love of the truth, and may the grace of God, our Father, be with us all, because we certainly need it. See ya.